Welcome everybody to this training session about InCites, benchmarking and analytics. We often call it InCites, that's a bit shorter. And this platform allows you to assess the research impact of your publications. And data is key to take actions. So by analyzing this data, probably you will find ideas to enhance your impact. So a brief introduction about InCites benchmarking in analytics and what it is. This is an analytical tool that is using Web of Science data. Web of Science data from the core collection. So Web of Science is to search publications for your bibliography, whereas InCites is using these data, especially the citation data, to make some analysis, bibliographic analysis, impact analysis. So that's completely different. It's for the assessment of research publication impact. Here you see, I was telling you that InCites is using all the data coming from the Web of Science core collection, meaning journals, conferences and books, what we have in the core collection. The only difference is the data depth in terms of years. Web of Science starts in 100 years ago, whereas InCites is starting in 1980. There is nothing before in InCites. And we are using this type of data in InCites, the data that is indexed in a specific way in the core collection. And this is thanks to this specific indexation that we are going to be able to do some analysis. For example, the names of the affiliations that are unified, as well as the authors with their profiles, that's something that helps a lot. So this is for the data coming from for the core collection. And we have also indicators. So the data and the indicators, by the way, are used in several global ranking. We are seeing here some logos, and just for you to know that, well, there are different rankings, and some of them use our data, and also some of them use our indicators within their methodology. So here is just a summary of the specific indicators that we have. Indicators of collaboration, open access, normalized indicators, and this is thanks to those specific indicators that we can make some analysis. And now we are going to dive into practice, and I have 4 use cases here on the right side that were submitted to me, and we're going to do those 4 use cases directly within the platform. Try to answer those 4 questions. The first one, benchmarking and assessing my research, for example, against the research published by my peers, and all this using appropriated metrics. That's going to be the first one. The second one will be, how can I recognize the leading authors on my topic, for example, leading authors with whom perhaps I would like to start a collaboration. The third one will be to find key papers in my research field. And finally, how can I identify impactful journals where I'm going to submit my manuscript for publication. So let's dive into InCites and do all of this practicing the platform, so we learn how it works. This is the landing page. I am now in InCites. You need to log in with your account, an account that is shared with Web of Science. You see here I'm identified with my account. This is the only way to access InCites, and this platform is available, this interface is available in 2 different languages. I will follow with English because I'm not understanding Chinese at all. I have three areas to start using InCites. Those have been created for beginners, but I'm not going to use them today. I'm going to work as an expert because I'm seeing here that there are 6 ways to analyze, and it depends on what do I want to compare, what do I want to assess. And we're going to use, there are 6 areas, we're going to use 3 of them today to reply to those quick questions that I was showing you. First question, benchmarking. How can I benchmark and assess my research performance against my peers? So I'm speaking about individuals. I want to compare researchers, so I'm going to the researcher module. That's going to be the first one, going to practice. I am in the researcher module. Usually I'm landing in a table. You see I've done some exercises here. We're going to start from scratch as if I am a new user. And this is what you see when you're starting with the researcher module. You have a list of author records. This is the option by default, but you could have also a list of unique IDs or a list of name. We've changed to author records researcher profile because this is the best way to compare individuals that have verified their publications within their profile. So this is what you're going to see, and there is a way to clean this list. You see some of them have a green mark and others don't in this list. The green mark means their profile has been verified in Web of Science, claimed in Web of Science, so I can trust what is in those profiles. So let me use this filter here, claimed, and now in this list I have only claimed profile with the green mark here. I'm going to start comparing researchers in Hong Kong. So instead of globally, I'm going to start with this so you see how it works. So I can filter also by location. And I'm searching, yes, this is possible. And I'm applying this filter to my list. I have a smaller list. You see here so far all the filters that I have applied. Per default, I have this time period, and I'm going to keep with this time period of 5 years, but I could completely change the frame of the analysis I am doing, depending on the years that I want to use for this comparison. So I have a lot of researchers with a claimed profile, and now I want to focus this list on a research area, on a topic. And I can do that thanks to another filter, that is the filter research area. And in this filter I have different schemas. Web of Science categories, this is the most widely used, categories of journals. Today I'm going to use the one that I prefer, that is a new one called citation topic. Citation topic, it's not a classification per journal, it's a classification per documents. And classification done thanks to an algorithm and analyzing their citation network, bibliography, and also the citations that they have received. It's far more precise than a category of journals, documents per documents. I have 3 levels to compare. Let me see, I'm going to use the middle one, meso. And as a topic today, because we've heard a lot talking about climate change and all this, I was thinking maybe something related with the environment. So let me see if I have a citation topic meso related to the environment. Oops, environmental. Yes, I have one. Environmental studies, so let me choose this one. Let me see if there is another one. No, that's the only one. Okay, perfect. So let me update my results. Okay. And now I have a shorter list, you see? And again, an additional filter that I have applied here. I can go back and clear any of those filters if I need to. This is easy, clicking on the cross. Okay, so that's for the filters. Now let's have a look at the information I have in this table. I have names in profiles. They are ranked, and they are ranked, I guess, depending on this column. They are organized per the highest number of papers within this time period. I have their indicator, Web of Science Researcher ID. I've decided to add the affiliation, so we see their most recent affiliation in their most recent papers in this column, and sometimes there are more depending on their career. It's shown here. So this is for the information. How do I add this information in this table? Those are called indicators. The best way is to use this other tab on the right side. You see the ones that I've added with the green, and those are normalized, and the other ones we see them with a also another green mark. So this is how I've added them. If I want to add one more, I would click here and add, and then I would see the green circle. So this is easy, and you have the explanation before you select one of those indicators. Now let's talk about normalized indicators that I have added just here on the right side. Category normalized citation impact, it's one of the most important indicators in InCites, and it's used also in one of the Shanghai rankings, the one related to academic subject areas. Let me explain what is this indicator and what is normalization. So I need to use my presentation to this. So what do we mean by normalization? We mean that it's important to compare apples with apples and pears with pears. It's important to get to know the context before we interpret the numbers. We see here that nice design explaining, well, how can I know if 20 is a good number or a bad number? Well, it all depends on my scale. It all depends on the context. I need to know that context. Well, the context is important. It's important for publication. It's important for journals. Publications. The citation behavior will vary a lot from discipline to discipline. So it's important to compare things that are in the same discipline. For example, physics, biology, chemistry attract always a lot of citations, whereas mathematics, it's a bit different. It's the opposite within the science field. So take into consideration the area, the discipline is very important. Otherwise, we cannot compare. It just doesn't make sense. The second criteria to take into consideration is the publication year. Also, a recent paper will have a few years to accumulate citations, whereas an old paper, 10 years, 20 years, will have a lot of time to accumulate citations. So we cannot compare papers from different publication years. And the other factor is the type of document type. We have also observed that it has an impact on the citations. For example, reviews attract far more readers and then citations than an article. Only the specialist will read the article. So CNCI is normalizing all the numbers per those three different criterias. And this is how CNCI is calculated. So it's a normalization by publication year, by research area, category, in this case, category of journals, and document type. So when we have at times cited, we have also a category expected citation. This is the normalization. We calculate for this publication date, document type, and research area what is the average of citations, and in this way I can know if my number total of citations is higher of the average or lower of the average. And this is how we can calculate the division, the CNCI, category normalized citation impact. In this image that we see here, it's far higher than the average, almost 4 times higher. So this is a very good sign. So this is for the explanation of the CNCI, and now we can go back on the table and see those CNCIs in these columns, CNCIs for this group of paper that we're seeing here. That's not the total of publications of the authors, because in my filters I could change to hold all years. I have decided to focus on those last 5 years. We have other normalized indicators, the percentage of documents in the top 10% of citations, and we see in this case it's higher than 10%, it's very good, and the percentage of highly cited papers. Highly cited papers is also something that is normalized in a discipline and in a publication year, so there is also a normalization here. Okay, so we've learned how to read this table. Now I would like to see among those authors, I see here the one who has published the more in this time period, who is the person who has, for example, the highest number of, the highest CNCI. So when we are organizing this table by CNCI, we see things that are very strange. 99%, wow, it's almost impossible. Well, of course, we are talking about an average of one document, and this document is a highly cited paper. So we cannot say anything really about this data. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to discard those profiles with only a few papers. I want to really analyze the people at the top of this list. So I'm going to apply what we call a threshold. I have more than 100 researchers in this list, and I can apply a threshold wherever I want in this list, a threshold, for example, in this column. So today, maybe what I'm going to do, so that's up to each person, I don't want that many researchers. Maybe I'm going to apply a threshold at 25 papers here, just to keep the top of the list. Maybe 10 people, yeah, 25 or 20 papers, and then I'm going to analyze the top of the list. How do I apply this threshold? Web of Science documents. It's kind of a filter of a list, and I could say I want only, let me say, the profiles with at least 20 papers in this 5-year period. Let's say, update results, and now I have only 11 researchers, which seems a bit more reasonable to analyze. Okay, so let's try again. CNCI, what is the highest number that we have? Sort from high to low. And now we are having Tao Wang from the Hong Kong Polytechnic University with the highest CNCI, 2.4. So more than double the average citation. The average is always 1. 1 is easy to interpret, so anything above 1 is above the average. A high number of documents in the top 10%, more than 4 times the average, which is 10%, and also a good number of highly cited papers. Let me see if we have better numbers here. No, it's the same individual, and highly cited papers. Let me see, from high to low. Yes, he's the best in for those 3 indicators. That's not always the case. The organization could be different, but this is one of the ways to identify someone with a high impact, high citation impact within this area, environmental science. An individual, so far I'm only analyzing the researchers with a claimed profile in Web of Science and affiliated to an institution based in Hong Kong. This is what I've been doing in this first example. Now, the second use case, the second question we want to answer to is how can I recognize the leading authors in my topic to collaborate with? And I think in this case, we don't want to keep only in Hong Kong, we want to see globally. So I'm going to remove this filter and have exactly the same analysis, but globally. I want to identify whoever in the globe having a high citation impact. And I'm going to analyze their profile and see maybe it's worth starting a collaboration between our two institutions. Um, I have a lot of researchers in this list, so maybe I'll need to be more um, detailed in a research area. Perhaps environmental sciences is still too vague now for this bigger space, global. So let me go back to research area, and now I'm using not the mesotopic but the micro citation topic, far more detailed. And I was thinking of something related to climate change, because we were talking about climate change a lot these last days in relation with the conference in Egypt those last days. So let me see if there is a microcitation topic related to climate. So let me see, there are three: climate security, safety climate, and climate change adaptation. Well, let me choose this one, climate change adaptation, this group of papers, and now I'm going to update my results. I am keeping with this table, and now in order to be able to analyze those three indicators at a time instead of playing with my columns, I'm going to use a visualization of those names. I will only see the 25 first, so let me organize per Web of Science documents first, from high to low, because my visualization is limited to 25. Oh, that's okay. I have only 22. I thought I would have more, so I can fit all of them in my visualization. Perfect. So let me go to the visualization. I have the 22 here, and let me see how I'm going to organize. So in this axis, I'm going to keep Web of Science documents to see the ones that are publishing the more. Usually on I'm going to keep this one also. On this other one, category normalized citation impact, so the authors with the highest normalized CNCI. And for example, I'm using as the radius, the diameter of those circles, the highly cited papers. So this is a nice way to see who is publishing the more. We see here the scale, who has the highest CNCI, citation impact, and also this is related to here the highest number of highly cited papers, percentage of highly cited papers. And you see, this is the best case, publishing a lot and having a higher citation impact, normalized citation impact. And I'm seeing here those circles, and I can identify easily some individuals. And I'm seeing the numbers behind. This one, 29 Web of Science documents, CNCI 3.3, and 10% of highly cited papers. This other person, 26 documents, almost 4 as CNCI, and 11% of highly cited paper. So this is one way that I'm showing to identify globally some individuals publishing at reasonable pace and also having a normalized impact for their publication that is higher than the average. So this visualization is called scatter plot. I've used this one because I have a lot of visualizations. This one allows me with a scatter plot to put different indicators, analyze different indicators at the time. I could put up to 3 in the different axes. Here I've chosen these 3. So that was for the second question. I wanted to, again, recognize leading authors, and as long as I want to compare, identify people, I have to work in the researcher module. This third question is find the key papers in your research field. So we are no longer want to identify individuals, researchers, we want to find key papers. So I'm going to change to another module now. There is not a module for key papers, but there is one for research areas, key papers in a research areas. So I'm going to use and move to this other module, research areas. Okay? Let me clear all the filters. I've done some exercise and we are going to start from scratch and learn with a case study how we could use this module. So in research area, as I was telling you initially, we have different schemas available. Web of Science is the most widely used. The categories of journals, we have 254 categories of journals. But I don't want to identify journals. I want to go to the paper level. So I'm going to use the second one, citation topics. Citation topics is a new classification that uses the network, citation network of the different papers. And by the way, maybe I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to citation topic. Let me explain citation topic, by the way. I have to go back to my slides. It's worth explaining citation topics. So I was telling you, this is at the paper level. We are, thanks to an algorithm, creating those clusters of papers, analyzing their citation network. When they've just been published, that citation network will only be composed of bibliographic references, but after they are starting receiving citations, well, the use might shift because the applications are different. So along the life of a paper from its publication to the following years when it's receiving citations, it can move from one place to the other. So analyzing the citation network, we can create those small clusters of documents, and those small clusters, with those small clusters, we will create micro citation topics. And you see that we have more than 2,000 micro citation topics. We will then group those micro topics to create mesotopics and then group them, and the highest level is the macro topics. We only have 10. So from the most generic topic to the most precise topic. This is why I like a lot this one. It's really precise. And this schema is updated once a year because articles keep receiving citations and we have to reanalyze once a year. In those, when I have this classification, I need to have in mind that 95% of the documents enter into a cluster, but there are 5% of articles and reviews that we couldn't group. We couldn't put in any of the clusters. So this is how it works. You see here the hierarchy from the macro topic, mesotopic, and microtopic. This is how it works. So let me go back to now my exercise. I was filtering by, I am using the citation topic a classification, a schema, and now I'm going to select again the same micro topic as before. I can select it, micro, it had the word climate, and it was this one, climate change adaptation. So I keep with one line, and I will keep with this time period, but again I repeat, if you want to change and to a custom period of years, you could change here. So I'm keeping with this one, and now I am seeing the number of papers in this cluster, and this is a clickable. number. Okay, I can see those papers, I can open the tab, but of course there are a lot of papers. I want to see the key papers. Key papers, how could I define key papers? Well, probably the ones with the highest impact, the highest number of citations. So what I have added to this table are those two indicators, highly cited papers and hot papers, number of highly cited papers and number of hot papers. That's somewhere else here. Yes, hot papers. And you have the explanation here, the definition of what it is. Papers, articles and reviews that rank in the top 1% by citation for their field and their publication year. This is the definition of a highly cited paper, and this is always a paper of the last 10 years. Whereas hot paper is a bit different. Papers that are assigned to ESI as in the top 0.1% by citation or field and publication year. The main difference between highly cited is one is 1% and the other one 0.1%, but 1% in 10 years and 0.1% top 0.1% for the last 2 years. Hot paper, hot topic, something really recent. Okay? So I have added those two indicators in this table, and we're seeing that there are 2 hot papers from the last 2 years. Those are always recent papers. I am opening the list and I'm seeing here those papers, and we see the publication date here and the time cited. We have all the metrics for each of those papers, and I can see them in Web of Science if I want to. Same thing for highly cited papers. I have now in this one more than 100 papers in a table. They are organized per time cited, but if I want to have a look at them in the Web of Science, I can click on this link and I will see them in the Web of Science, or I can also download this list, this Excel list. Depends on the use I want to do. So this is what I would do to identify the most impactful papers in my research area. I will look into the research area to filter precisely by a research area. Microtopic is perhaps the best way to do it, the most granular way of filtering. And I can filter by more than one microtopic, by the way. I've just selected one, but I could add, for example, climate security if I want to, and the numbers would change, okay? So I can have more than one. And then probably the indicators that I would use would be the highly cited and hot papers to identify exactly those impactful papers in this research area. So that was for the third question. Find the key papers in my research field. Now we are going to shift a bit, because the fourth use case is related with journals. Let's say, well, I have a manuscript and I want to send the manuscript to a good journal or an impactful journal, or both. So how can I identify impactful journals to submit my manuscript? Well, if I want to compare identified journals, I have to move to another module. I have to move to the module Publication Sources. Publication Sources, this is where we're going to find the journals, the books, and the conference proceedings. So let's move to this one, or the other way is also, it's the same, Publication Sources. Now I want to compare journals. I've done the exercise already, but I'm going to repeat it with you, so I'm clearing all the filters, and we will start from scratch. I was telling you that we have in InCites not only journals but also books and conference proceedings. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to filter this list by source type, and I only want journals. Okay? Update results. Here we go. I only have journals. That's the first thing that I have applied. In terms of years, I will keep simple today. I will keep with this time range, again, You can choose a custom range if you want to. Now, let's imagine that for impactful journals, maybe one of the filters that I could apply would be journals in the quartile one of the impact factor. So let me have a look at this filter, journal impact factor quartile, and I'm going to filter per Q1. Could be one of the options, impactful journals with the highest journal impact factor in their category, their journal category. So yeah, we have a smaller list, and in this list I have chosen different indicators. So let me sort them by Web of Science documents, and well, I have to put also the citation topic. I forgot about that. Citation topic, research area. I'm going to continue with that same citation topic, micro, and climate change adaptation. Okay, much better. So we are seeing for this field the journals where there is the highest number of publications related to this field. They are organized in the table by Web of Science document, number of publications, but I can have a look a bit further than the number of publications. I want to see the normalized impact of those publications. So I have chosen another here metric that is not the category normalized citation impact, but the journal normalized citation impact. In this case, meaning I am not comparing with papers in the same category, journal category. I am comparing these papers from this citation topic to other papers in the same journal. And I'm seeing their normalized impact. Let me show you the calculation. It's a bit different from the category normalized citation impact. I have the times cited, and I'm not normalizing by research area, I'm normalizing by source in this journal. So times cited divided by expected citations for the journals, for the whole content of this journal, and I can determine the journal normalized citation impact, much more precise. So I am seeing in this table that these type of papers, climate change adaptations, when they are published in this journal, they have an impact that is 8% above the average, that is 1. This is what it's telling me. And I can have have a look at those numbers in this table. Again, I have a lot of journals here, so maybe I'll have to apply a threshold, because if I am organizing by from high to low, again, I'm going to see those strange things with only one paper, a highly cited paper probably. So I'm going back, and from high to low, I would like the top of the list, perhaps not the 500, so I'm going to apply again a threshold in this list. That's up to you where you're going to apply the threshold here. That's interesting because we see at the top of the list journals specialized in climate change, okay, and when we go down, we are going to see other types of journals, some of them more multidisciplinary, okay? So that's up to you where you're going to apply this threshold, and I was seeing a bit below Nature, multidisciplinary journal. Okay, this journal has a very high normalized impact. That's obvious, that's a multidisciplinary journal. It's not specialized, so that's up to me. Do I want to target one of those very famous journals, or do I want to keep in journals really specific to my research area? So I think for today I'm going to keep in specific journals at the top of my list. I'm seeing their title, it makes sense. So I'm going to apply Web of Science document. Maybe I'm going to put 40. Let's see how many journals keep in my list. 34. Yeah, I think it's reasonable. Let's have a look at the titles. Yes, all the titles are related to environment, climate. Makes sense to me. So I'm going to keep with those ones. And once I have applied this, I am seeing, and I can reorganize high to low. So this is the journal where the normalized impact is the highest. And on the contrary, if I click in this column, this is the journal where we have the highest number of papers. So you can play with those two indicators and see which of those one is the most important to you, or a combination of those two, because we believe that any analysis has to be done with more than an indicator. The more, the better. And I was thinking, well, okay, I have a nice list of journals here, impactful journals in my area. Maybe I need more information. So I have added two more indicators that I've selected here. Do I want to publish in an open access journal? We're seeing one here. This other one seems to be hybrid, and these other ones are below a subscription. So you can see here very easily, thanks to this indicator, if we're talking about an open access journal or not, if this is one of your criterias. And the last column that I've added, just for my information, is also the publisher. So I know this journal belongs to one of those publishers. Maybe in my institutions we have already a subscription or an agreement to read and publish, I don't know, in one of those for one of those publishers. So that might help me make a decision, where am I going to send my manuscript. Okay, so this is how I would do it. To identify journals, I will work in the module publication sources. And we've seen to identify papers, impactful papers, we worked on research area. That was far more easy, and I could click on the numbers. And to compare individuals, researchers, I was working in this module. So that was for an overview with 4 different use cases of InCites, and I wanted to show you one more thing quickly, the module My Organization. Bear in mind that this module is not available for everybody. This module is, let me go back by the way, is only visible for some of the institutions of the JULAC consortium, because it goes institution by institution, okay? So you might see it or not. My Organization is a module that is customized for each of the institutions. So I don't have access of any of yours. We had to create one, Clarivate, just to be able to show what it looks like. But in your case, that will be for each of your institutions, you will see something different. This module is very interesting because it allows us to organize the scientific output of our organization depending on a schema that we have here. We have a summary. Our university, for example, not Clarivate, is divided into a certain number of departments, and in those departments we have researchers, and the total are those documents. And here I have the structure of my university. So this is only a demonstration because I don't have access to any of yours. This is something that is customized for each of the universities. So you have to build this structure based on how your institution is organized. Let's see, this one was built by one of my colleagues in the Czech Republic, and let's see how it is organized. So we've divided the university into different faculties, and those faculties could be divided into departments or research groups and all this. Let's have a look at, for example, the Institute of Technology. We can imagine that below the institute we have different centers, Center of Nanotechnology, and in those centers we have research groups, And in those research groups, we have researchers. And we see a line per researcher with their number of documents, publications. And if I collapse again, I see in this column it's a number of researcher, total publications, and in this column that's the number of departments. So I'm going to collapse it again. So this structure has to be built, customized for each of the institutions, and then we have to populate the information with the departments, the researchers, and the documents. So each institution has to feed this structure in order afterwards to make some custom comparison. For example, let me reopen this one because each of those lines, it's a link to a report. Let me do a report, for example, for this center, could be also a department, and I can take advantage of those pre-built reports from InCites. Overview for this department of research output, production, performance, and we could also see collaborations of this center and affiliations of the co-authors, okay? And I could do the same for an individual. Let me click on this one. Well, only one paper, maybe that's not the best example, but I'm landing also in a researcher report. Let me find another one with, well, this one, okay? Much better. That's another template, a researcher report. And, oops, maybe it open in the next, yes, this one. No, maybe I didn't click well, department, and no, let me click again on this name. Let me see. No, well, the link is not working well. Anyway, maybe let me try another one. Do we have an individual here for which it's working? Academy, faculty, or law. Okay. I need names. Well, let's try. It looks like it's locked. I'm trying again for the last time. And no. Well, we have a small technical issue right now. Anyway, you see how it works. You see what it means to have a My Organization module, and this is something that some of the universities in Hong Kong have access to, and they've created their hierarchy, their structure, and they've populated it with the number of departments, researchers, and documents, and from this moment they can do a custom comparison, for example, between departments or between faculties. So that is all for InCites. If you want to have access to more training, below the question mark you have different links. One is the help guide, help and contact help guide that you have here. You can type a question. The help guide is really helpful for the different modules and the different features. And for beginners, there is also, oops, that's not what I wanted to show, on the question mark here. There is also I want to guides. Those are chores. I want to apply filters, add indicators, baselines, create a group for analysis. Everything is explained here. That's really easy to take those short steps. And we have also getting started guides. All of this is in a page, collected in a page. Let me show you the link of this page. It's at the in the last slide of my presentation, the InCites Learning Portal. So I really recommend the InCites Learning Portal because we have here the information organized in very brief videos from 2 to 5 minutes explaining each of the steps, how to export data, how to create reports. So there are 3 areas here: analyzing organization, analyzing researchers. So you have those brief videos. All those brief videos are making our self-guided learnings. We have self-guided learnings, e-learnings recorded with a certification. We have two of them, one basic and the other one just to go a bit beyond. And you can also take them whenever you want. And there is here a user guide. That's a document of more than 100 pages, a PowerPoint. So if you want to download it to keep learning, that's also another option, or register for live training for the next webinars that we're going to do. Okay, I see that I went a bit beyond the time that I was thinking initially. Anyway, now I'm done with the presentation.